YouTube, I'm Jacob Beach,
And I'm Mariah Beach.
and we're here today with the Preppers Bunker Outdoors to talk to you about Alone Season 2, Episode 7. Stick around. Alright guys, so this was an exciting episode. We had 2 people tap this episode, but we'll get to that last. First, let's talk about Jose. Jose was very exciting to me because the way that he's building his canoe, I think, is so talented, using the cedar and steam bending. What do you think about how that's coming along?
So, one of the things that I really enjoy about this show is seeing different ways that people build things, water filtration. So, there's always something that you can learn from this show. So the steam bending, something I've never heard of before, just really cool. Like, that's impressive to know something like that and to do it so well. His canoe is looking super impressive, and I hope they find a way for him to take that with him.
Yeah, definitely. A little interesting factoid is my grandfather built houses, and he was the last person, I believe, who made stairways without support that both came down and arched out of solid pieces of wood. And I think that that method that Jose used is pretty much what he did. So that was pretty cool. All in all, Jose just seems really calm. I mean, he's sitting there, he's trimming up his beard mustache. He's seeming like he's pretty well in his element.
Yeah, it looks like he's pretty comfortable. So
I definitely wish we could see more about what he's doing, because I feel like, it's easy to think that since we don't see a lot about him, that he's just sitting in his shelter, like eating rations that he brought with him, but I don't think that's the case. So I really wish that we could see more of what he's doing out there.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so the next person that we want to talk about is Larry.
Team Bleepin' Larry.
So we saw last episode that he moved to a new location that looked really promising. The biggest issue that he's having with the new location is that he has not gotten any fish yet. And his last location, he was getting fish, every day. Every time he set a hook or a line, he was catching something. So now it's like, oh, you have level ground and it's nice and clear, but there's no fish. So hopefully that's not the case, and just he has to find that right spot. But what do you think about his new location?
Well, he is finding a lot of chanterelles, which is nice.
Yeah.
And when you have a food source like that, it's probably going to attract other food sources of various types.
Right.
So I think maybe he just needs to figure out the deal with the fish. There's fish everywhere. You just have to know when they come and what they're looking for, what kind of fish they are. And obviously in a situation like what he's in, that information either comes by you being in the right place at the right time, or it doesn't come. So, but he's got a good spot, his spirits are up, and basically that's everything. And I think he's reveling in the fact that he does what he wants when he wants. He's not on somebody else's schedule right now, which is nice.
Yeah, he did talk about that. So
he made a little bit of a silly mistake, which he was pretty hard on himself for. He burnt down his chimney. He had a stump next to him that he put a hole in, hoping that the chimney would suck the smoke out of his little fire there. And I thought, I don't know if that's a good idea. And he said, I better not let this fire get too hot, or it's going to burn this thing down. And I was like, I give him credit. It's a dang rainforest, and I think it probably could have worked for a while, and I would have done it myself. I mean, I don't care. I'm just glad that it turned out well for him. Didn't end up. He woke up in time. He woke up to a giant red glow,
Yeah.
but it didn't burn out his shelter. Nobody was hurt. It wasn't the smartest idea, but I liked the concept, and who knows, it could have worked in different situations. So I
Right.
think he was hard on himself, maybe rightly so, but
I'm just
that's
glad
how
that,
that's how adventures happen.
I'm just glad that nothing really bad happened because, like you said, that could have been a lot worse.
But it's good to see him in better spirits.
Oh yeah.
Another survivor that we haven't seen a lot of is Justin. Justin is all about supporting vets. He does his hike to survive. I actually just did an interview with him that you can watch. But with Justin on day 21, he wakes up in water, gets his bag soaked. He's actually in a swamp. And having grown up in Washington, looking at where he is, immediately was a no-go to me. But he woke up in a swamp and thought he'd just throw up a hammock, take his gill net down that wasn't catching any fish, and throw up a hammock to get up above the water. And I liked that idea. But the next day, what was a little bit of groundwater coming up was he was in a swamp. And definitely not where you want to be. It was on the 22nd day that he woke up in the swamp. And he's already, like you say, he's at the end of his rope. He's pretty burnt out. But he's on the 22nd day, he said that he was going to hike up a mountain in support of the 22 veterans that commit suicide every day. And so what was cool was it happened at the crappiest time for him, for all of his stuff to flood. And he didn't let him get it down. He's like, well, I'm going to hike this mountain and start fresh tomorrow. Honestly, I didn't think he was going to do it. I was like, oh, he's going to hike tomorrow. And then the next day, it's flooded. I was like, well, there goes the hike. But he went out there and he did it anyways. That was awesome. He did it with minimum resources. What do you think about Justin so far in the show? Where his mind's at, where his calories are at? How do you think Justin's doing?
So, what I love about Justin is you can see his passion and you can see his dedication that he has for veterans. And I love that. Another thing that I want to talk about, we'll get to see his hike a little bit more next episode, more in depth. And
It looked like it might have gotten a little hairy.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. But I really think that he may not be in the best position with his camp, being a swamp and having to exert all that energy into possibly moving his camp. I give
After
him,
a hike.
yeah, I give him huge credit for still being there, and now he's gonna go on a hike. That'd be like the last thing that I want to do. I'd be so frustrated, but at the same time, he's hoping that will kind of recharge his batteries. That's what he said, and he likes to. There was a bug that just flew. Whew. Sorry. But that's something that he likes to do, and that's something that he enjoys doing. So hopefully that'll work out well for him.
Justin's not eating a lot, and in his little program, Hike to Survive, that's part of what he does. Is he goes out with veterans and they hike, and so I'm thinking he must be pretty hardcore with this hiking after 22 days of his survival to decide to continue to do that.
Yeah.
But that's really cool. Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this episode we got to see more of Dave, which was exciting to me. Feels like we haven't seen enough of him in the past. He's struggling a little bit in the beginning of the episode. He hasn't eaten in 4 days, a good meal in 4 days. And the water's really rough out where he was out fishing. So Dave has been working on his own gill net. He's having trouble going. I think he's low on energy, which everybody in that situation is low on energy, no matter, even if they are doing really, really well. Even if he's eating 1 meal a day, he'd still be low on energy.
Right.
Just because the energy it takes to survive. But So he builds a new gill net and he attaches it to the old gill net that wasn't working. What did you think about that?
Um, I probably would have tried to put it in a different location, just because I think it just makes a little more sense to have one on this side and then one like on another side, another location. That way, you have more ground coverage. Maybe the water, that's the calmest part of where he's at. That's why he put the nets there. I don't know, but I would try to put them in different locations, spaced out, kind of far away from each other.
One thing that I noticed about his gill nets, and I don't know for certain if this is the case or if this has anything to do with anything, but look like the bottom of the gill nets might be up off the ground a good little bit. And I could be way off on that, but maybe he's having fish go right under his gill nets. Maybe they're a little too high.
Yeah.
Again, I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I think I would have. I'd want to go to a completely new location, even if you have to walk 10 minutes to a place to set a trap. If you get a big fish, that 10 minutes of work will be more than earned in calories. Well, it's 20 minutes of work walking back and forth, and it'd be a pain in the butt, and it'd be every day. But if you found something that was 10 minutes away that was successful, it could actually even be worth moving your whole camp for. So, that was interesting. He's eating some limpets, but he only gets a couple at a time. But at least he's getting something. I think he's having a little bit of a difficult time for sure. And a little foreshadowing of the next episode, History Channel leaked a little bit that it looks like in the next episode, maybe within the next few days, both of his gill nets get taken away. So it's going to be interesting to see if that breaks him or if he finds a different way of looking for food and if that way is successful.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see Dave struggle with that, and I'm really hoping that he perseveres and does well. So we got to see a bit of Randy this episode. He made himself a little sauna. I think that Randy is a really, really tough guy. I think how long he went without a ferro rod is just awesome.
Yeah.
I don't really connect very well with Randy because I'm not a spiritual person. I'm definitely a Christian, and I know that a lot of stuff is spiritual, but I'm not a spiritual person myself at all.
Spiritual with the earth, is what you're saying.
Well, you just have spiritual people. Whether they're Christian or not, they want to be connected to something.
I gotcha.
I'm not that way at all. I'm just pretty much straight up logic, and that's it. So because of that, I don't personally connect well with Randy, but he did incredible, and he decided that was it for him. Either he got what he needed, or he was not getting what he needed. Either way, he decided to tap out. How did you feel about how Randy tapped and his whole situation?
Okay, so I've said this before. My biggest motivation being out there would be to win and to get that money. So if I'm doing good where I'm getting I'm able to eat, I'm surviving, I'm not dying, I'm staying out there. If I went out there, I mean, obviously these people are out there because they enjoy the outdoors. And it's, to some extent, it's fun and enjoyable. So, if I got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be on that show, I'm going to stay out there until I'm forced to leave. Either I'm forced to leave, or I win.
Well, and we don't know exactly how Randy's been doing on food because we haven't seen a lot of that. But he did mention that decided not to go before he went to the island, and I believe it was his father who kind of told him this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I think that going into something, maybe thinking about the possibility of not wanting to be there, mentally could be really challenging. And I think a lot of the determination that you saw in Sam in season one, he was just going to go out there and he was going to win. And he had it rough, and he stuck to it. And so that doesn't necessarily mean he's a better survivor than anyone who stayed out there longer. And Randy's not necessarily a worse survivor than anyone who stayed out there. It's just he didn't exactly know what was going to happen, and maybe he just wasn't for sure exactly what he wanted before he left.
Yeah.
But he did great. I mean, he lost his ferro rod off the bat, could have called it quits.
Yeah.
I think that Randy knows a whole lot of information. I'd like to meet the guy and hang out with him. I think that he's really cool, and obviously he's got a lot to teach. So I'm sad to see him go for selfish reasons, because I would have liked to see what else he could do, especially when stuff started getting really, really tough.
Yeah. But he left kind of on his own terms. So it's his decision, and he's the one that's out there. So.
Yeah.
All right. So in this episode, we had two people tap. Randy being one, Mike being the other. Mike had a really cool setup. I mean, bowling? That's awesome.
Yeah.
His football game? I mean, really, really impressive. And I was, not gonna lie, I was disappointed when he left. Because, I don't know, I mean, just, he had such a cool setup. I mean, he had a stove. He had like a little apartment. What were your thoughts on that?
I think the games look like a lot of fun, but I actually think that the games might have had a negative effect on Mike, because naturally games are more fun for most people when you're playing them with someone else.
Yeah.
Now,
That's a good point.
you have people like my mom who like playing solitaire by themselves, and whatever. Maybe some people are into that, but for the most part, games are fun with more than one person. So Mike is incredibly talented. He said that he felt like he wasn't growing anymore, and if he stayed any longer, it would be for selfish reasons. I wish that I could have seen Mike stay there longer for selfish reasons, because he has so much to teach. Luckily, I'm blessed to be doing a survival class with him coming up here in southern Kentucky, so I'm going to be able to get a little bit of that firsthand. But that's just different than seeing him continue to survive, to compete with himself, and obviously to some degree for us to compete with the others. So he had a cool setup. I think the biggest thing that I wanted to see from Mike was I wanted to see how he was going to winterize, because obviously when Mike makes stuff, Mike goes big. He was doing stuff so cool. So, I was thinking he might set up some walls, maybe even his own, fireplace. I didn't know. I was really excited because he was just so crafty out there. I would say that he had the most comfortable living area.
I would agree with that.
And he was set up. So it was just sad to see him go, because I feel like he could have offered the viewers so much more. I think from what we saw, he had the most potential to teach people to think out of the box and to do stuff. And so I was excited to see more of that. But regardless, Mike did great. He left on his own terms.
And remember, he also had that boat too. We didn't really get to see him use that a whole lot either.
So that was a bummer. Anyways, we're glad to have you guys have this discussion with you. Please talk to us on the comments. Hopefully we can get, if you have any questions for the survivors themselves, we might be able to get that answered. Let us know what your questions are, what you found to be interesting, and what we missed. Again, I have the best subscribers. I love talking to you guys, and I hope to do that soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for helping us grow our channel.